Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here today with little Sullivan. Let's get him for you. He wants to come and say hello. Here he is. Oh, here's the baby. Say hello everyone. Hello everybody. He's a good boy, isn't he? Hey, he's such a lovely doggy. Anyway, I'm here today with another sort of top 10, but it's not, okay? Because it's 12, and it's not an actual countdown to the worst to best. What this is about, this is 12 movies that I think deserve a sequel, or would have, which a sequel would be amazing for. I think that's what I think this is going to be 12 movies that sequels would be amazing for. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through 12 movies. Some of these are going to be obvious and some maybe not so. But I thought we'd have a little look today at 12 films that I think deserve sort of like a sequel. It would be really cool. First one is my favourite vampire movie. And that's Let the Right One In. I think because of the ending of this film, it was really open for like a sequel, really. And I think that would be amazing to see how these two are getting on, and you know, maybe if they did it like 10-15 years later when they've grown up and stuff like that. I think that'd be a really cool sort of like film to do a sequel on. But if not, it's still a brilliant standalone film. It's my favourite vampire film. It's in my sort of top 20 favourite films of all time, and there is a review of this on my channel, so go and check it out if you can. Let the Right One In, amazing. I'm not going to do numbers. Next one is a comedy horror, which I think really deserves a sequel and it'd be fantastic, and that is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. This film was so funny and so good. It was just great, and when it ended, you think, oh man, and it would just be good again to catch up with Tucker and Dale to see what they've been up to, and you know, if they killed anyone else off, or anyone else sort of like fallen to their sort of like unluckiness, if you like. But yeah, I would love to see a sequel of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I think that would be really cool. Next up, probably a bit of an obvious one. This one has received a prequel, which was really cool. But I think this deserves a sequel, but it needs to be made. It's too late now, it won't happen, but it needed to be made in the 80s by the same director, and that is The Thing. I think that would have been great if John Carpenter had, say in about 2000, let's say about 1986, 87, 88, made a sequel to The Thing to see what happened, because obviously there's two survivors at the end of the film, and it would be great to see what happens, you know, because they could have had like a sort of like rescue team go out because of they've not heard from them, and then obviously one of them gets infected and it goes off to like, I don't know, New York or wherever, and then that would have been really cool. I think that could have been a really cool sort of sequel for that film, but no sequel happened. Like I said, it did receive a prequel, which was cool. I really enjoyed it. Nowhere near as good as the original, but it was really cool to see that sort of like, it was a good sort of different idea, because it took a glimpse of the Norwegian team, which I really liked. So that's really cool. So The Thing, I think, should have had a sequel, to be honest. This next one is one I've not really speak about on my channel. I've not really got around to it. I might even try and do a review, but it's on Studio Canal, and every time I've done the Studio Canal review, it's been blocked. Like I've done the Doctor Who and the Dalek films, and they're on Studio Canal, and they've been blocked because of my clips. So I might do a review without clips. I don't know, because I've not looked at this yet on my channel. And this is like it's called Kill List, and basically it's about these sort of like hitman, sort of like the criminals, and they do like jobs for people, but their wives, there's a backstory of their wife. They sort of like has been involved with like a sort of a cult sort of group and like witchcraft, and it's a really bizarre film because it starts off like a sort of British criminal crime film, but then it turns into like a horror film with like the witchcraft cult sort of thing. And I think that could have been pursued more and into like a sequel to see what happened with that. That would have been really, really cool. But yeah, but again, no sequels ever come of it. So I think Kill List really deserved a sequel. Next one is another sort of a spoofy sort of horror, which is a real massive cult following, and I'm really shocked they've not done a second one. And that's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I mean, it is something they could have done, and I think it was something that would have worked really, really well, and it will have still brought the. And I'm really surprised this hasn't turned into a major sort of franchise of 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I'm surprised that they've not taken this forward into a sequel. Yeah, again, another fantastic film. Another one I really need to kind of review on my channel. I might get around to it later in the year, but that definitely deserves a sequel. Killer Clowns. Next one is a David Cronenberg film, and I don't think he's done any sequels of his movies, but I think this one really deserved a sequel, and that is Shivers. This is based about this sort of like this parasite, like a sort of almost look like a slug, that when people ingest it, it sort of makes them a bit crazy and sort of craves sort of sex and death, and it's really turns into sort of zombie like, and it sort of ends leaving you. It could easily spread and come into like a sequel, but nothing ever come of it. So I really think Shivers could have done with a sequel to see where that story would have gone to. So, Mr. Cronenberg, yeah, I know you're not watching this, but if ever you did, let's have a Shivers 2. That would be really cool to see where that would go. That was cool. This one's a bit obvious, I think. Quite a. Again, it's one of those films that is a Marmite film. You love or hate it. I actually really like it, and it's the Babadook. I think this could have done with a sequel, because it's open to that, because it's based on like a book, and it's based on like this sort of a monster thing that lives within this book, and so it's open to so many sort of again sequels, and I'm surprised they haven't followed that up with the Babadook 2. Good film. There is a second sight version out, a collector's edition on 4K, which I really, really want. But unfortunately, I missed out on it when it came out, and I'm keeping my eyes out for it. So I might try and pick that up at some point. The Babadook definitely deserves a sequel. Sci-fi horror now, about a ghost ship in space, and that's going to be Event Horizon. Again, I think this is another film that could have been done a sequel, as obviously the crew comes to its demise. Obviously, a rescue team could have came onto the Event Horizon, and you know what I mean. Again, there's just another way, or a different ship with the same sort of thing. This is just one of those films that I'm really shocked it hasn't had an Event Horizon 2, like a sequel, because it's open to one. Because the story sort of like ends with the crew's demise, but you could have had a rescue mission going to the Event Horizon. You know what I mean? So it's open to a sequel, and I'm surprised it didn't. Event Horizon. Next one's another one that's. Does he do sequels? It's a bit difficult to say, but I'm looking at George Romero's The Crazies. I'm saying that because I look at Dawn of the Dead as a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and look at Day of the Dead, a sequel to Dawn of the Dead. So they are kind of sequels because it's the same world and the same thing. So that kind of like is a sequel. So, but I'm surprised he never followed this up, The Crazies, which is obviously about a town that gets infected by this virus, and the town goes into lockdown, and we don't have a proper outcome of it at the end. So it leads to does the virus spread onto other towns? Does it go around the country? So they could have opened it up to another thing, like 28 days later, when they did 20 weeks later. They could have done the same sort of thing with The Crazies. So I think that would have worked quite well. So I'm surprised that didn't get a sequel. Next one is like a sort of superhero horror film, which could do with a good sequel, and that's Brightburn, about a young lad that gets these superpowers, and he uses them for wrong rather than good. It's a sort of like a horror film, superhero, superpower, a bit like Chronicles, if you've ever seen that. And that's another one that could have a sequel. But this would have done really cool if they'd had a sequel, Brightburn 2. I think that would have been really good. And last but not least, this one I think really deserves a sequel, and it's It Follows. This is about a curse. a little bit like Smile, if you've seen that. It's about a curse that it's like something that you just like follows you around, and you know, if you don't stop it, it'll end up killing you. And the only way to get rid of the curse is passing the curse on to someone else. So there you go. There's another sequel, right? So it's just weird that they'd never sort of done it in It Follows too. So that would have worked really well. So there you go. There's 12 movies that I think deserve, or a sequel would have been awesome with them. But there you go. Who am I to say? I would love to seen John Carpenter do a Thing too, but not now. The Thing Part 2, I think, should have been done like about 4 or 5 years after the original, which was 82, I believe, 81. And I think it needed to have been done in like the mid to late 80s, and they would have got away with a really cool sequel for that. But it never happened. But there you go. And The Fog is the same. I mean, that's another film that they could have done a sequel to. But there you go. Yeah, but that one I would love to have seen, and I really would like to see It Follows get a sequel, which would be really, really cool. You know, and Shivers, that would be so good. You know, I mean, I was thinking about David Cronenberg the other day, thinking what other films, you know, there's so many sort of films that he could done a sequel to. I mean, I know The Fly got a sequel, but that, you know, that's nowhere near as good as the original one. But I just think Shivers would have been a real good film to have had a sequel. Even Scanners could have probably... Actually, Scanners did go on, didn't it? It had 1, 2... Yeah, Scanners has had sequels, but not by Cronenberg. I think someone else done them. But yeah, I'd love to have seen Shivers. I'm waffling. Anyway, guys, what do you think of those? Do you think they would have made really good sort of like films have had sequels with? Let me know down below what you think, and what films you think would have been, should have had it, like horror films that could have had a really good sequel. There's loads of sort of like films like Mama and all these sort of films that could have worked really well with sequels, but they just don't seem to have got them. Guys, till the next video, check out some horror channels from me. Check out Horror Hands, The Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, I Am the Ice Lord, Pizzlewell, and Sarah of Horror. Please check out those amazing channels for me, guys. And a shout out to me, lad. Hope you're doing well, my mate. I'll see you soon. I'm coming down to see you soon. Until next time, look after yourself, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.